Boom! We have the return of the Professor, Brock Larson, on the channel, and he's going up against BBC, otherwise known as Blue Belt Chris. Remember, if you want to get awesome gear, you can use my link in the description to get a discount on gear from xmartial.com and look extremely stylish. Now this role is somewhat special because this is BBC's last time at our gym. He's going to show up of course in the future from time to time, but otherwise this is his farewell, so he has to go up against Brock for his final role. And he's starting off pretty strong because he's able to shuck the legs by and he's working in side control, except Brock has sleeve control, and you would think typically in this position you could start to wrench your arm out and get it out from between his legs so you could have a proper side control position, but you have to remember that Brock has old man strength. His closed grips are impossible to break thanks to all his old age and years of farming. However, this does not make for the most interesting content to watch, so we're going to speed this up just a little bit so we can get past the part where Brock's just holding him and Brock's going to start to move by posting on his elbow. As Brock is making his way up, he has to make sure he has sleeve control because he's going to go for a really risky technique by rolling over. He does a nice job of keeping everything tucked in so Chris can't take the back, then he pulls off a Bastalt's bend move by attacking the head, except for this time when the Professor actually does it, it works out. Now he's on top of Chris, and Chris went from a good position to a bad position, which of course is all very standard when you're rolling with your Professor. It's happened many times to me, so I really can't fault BBC for falling into the same trap. Now quick, let's do the question of the day. Easy question, how many rounds do you roll? Typically, I'm going to roll from the beginning into the end. Even if other people are leaving on the mats, I like to be the last one there. Comment below and I'll tell you if I think that you're rolling enough rounds to improve at jiu-jitsu. And while you're at it, if you press like on the video, that means that Brock won't Kimura you in the future, so I really recommend you press like for the video. Brock has decided that he wants to walk around the head. However, he has his left arm very deep into the lapel, and this is able to set up a choke if he wants. Instead, he's going to transition to the side, and he's going to hold BBC in a bad position. When BBC is here, his arms are both stuck, and Brock is starting to stalk his prey. It'd be awesome if BBC could move out of here and try and set up a shrimp or try and get back to guard. However, we have to look at how his hands are compromised. Chris has his right arm stuck under Brock's chest and he has his left wrist captured by Brock's hand. Brock is nice and he lets go of it, but he's only doing that because he wants to try and take the back instead. Chris was looking to grab the single leg and maybe to try and drive Brock over, but Brock sprawled out and he worked around BBC. Chris decides he wants to go back to side control, but I actually don't think this is a smart position for him because Chris is a wrestler. By going into bottom side control, it removes a lot of his wrestling tools from him. Yes, you can try and push on the hips of Brock to go to guard, but that is never going to be an easy task, and in fact I'd say wrestling is the easier choice you could have taken to try and escape from Brock. Now Brock is working that same control earlier where he had his left hand grabbing on the lapel, and it's even getting deeper once again. So if you believe in deja vu, here is clear evidence that it exists. We've seen this before and Brock's going for the exact same technique that he tried in an earlier time, except for this time Chris is spinning a lot more with him. Unfortunately for Chris, he's going to get completely stuck by Brock from this turtle position. Brock has the lapel controlled, and Brock's goal from here is to apply a lot of weight under the shoulders and potentially set up a Kimura. Chris needs to try and get his left arm free, then scoot back so he doesn't have all this weight on top of his shoulders. Brock is going to counter any goals that Chris has because he's using a Kimura entry. He goes past the head with his legs, he wraps up the Kimura, and once he can clear his left leg over the head, that allows him to kick backwards and he's starting to force the Kimura against Chris. However, Chris is actually doing a really good job using his BBC strength by keeping his arm nice and tucked. Even a behemoth like Brock couldn't pull the arm out, so BBC must be pretty strong. Unfortunately for BBC, Brock has no position bias and he's completely fine to take BBC's back. Now it looks like BBC is really trying to master his turtle because he spends so much of this role getting controlled by Brock in the same position. It's great to have some good turtle defense, but I want to see some offense from Chris on bottom here. The truth is, there isn't much that Chris can do because he's already doing the correct action, which is trying to free his lapel. Brock is starting to get a little bit impatient, however, and he's going to roll over. As he rolls, Chris is doing a nice job not letting the hook come in, and he did give up side control, but unfortunately he's going to be stuck in a terrible position. If you're claustrophobic, you would not want to be stuck in this spot. We can see that Chris is completely controlled by his own gi and he can't move. We're just going to call this a straight jacket because there's nothing he can do until Brock decides to let him out of here. If you ever have wondered what it's like to roll with the child, this is a prime example of what you would see. The child is on bottom, they can't do anything unless the parent wants to let them go. Brock is being extremely nice to Chris and he decides to actually let him go so they can continue the roll, and he's looking for a new attack. Now I'm going to be honest, the new position they go to is not great for BBC either. They move on to 69 guard, and it's called that because of, well, where their heads are placed. Chris gives a nice dick bump to push Brock off of him, and Brock is moving to the side, so luckily he won't have to stay in 69 guard for too long. Unfortunately for Chris, he left his arm dangling and he's grabbing onto the single leg, which is giving Brock another Kimura entry. Now the main thing that Chris has to do here is he has to maintain control over that leg and keep his hands locked. But that's an impossible task because you're doing a 2-on-1 grip against a 1-on-1 grip. Brock has two hands committed to your one arm, so of course he's going to be able to wrench your arm out of there. Brock even has his butt in a nice position where he can place it against Chris's neck, which is keeping him flat to the mat. He then switches the Kimura into a prison rip, which is a type of compression lock. You want to go towards your bicep, shove your elbow to the mat, and then compress everything from their shoulder into your chest. It really sucks to be in and applies a ton of pressure, but luckily for Chris, they run out of time, so he's not going to have to tap on camera. Good job to Chris, and it'll be sad to see that he won't be at the gym anymore, but I hope all goes well for him in the future. If you appreciate the video, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and thank you to my current viewers and patrons.